G'day everybody. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Matt. I am an XL racer, just like probably everybody watching this. And I also run this little YouTube channel called The Nugget Project, where I documented building this little guy and getting into racing and hopefully helping a few people out along the way, learning from my mistakes and my wins. So this is going to be a new video series we're doing when the need arises. So I'm going to be working with CERA, which is Circuit XL Racing Association, which is the governing body of most of the XL racing in Australia underneath Motorsport Australia. Basically what I wanted to do was whenever there's a rule change or a new component like a tender, like we're going to be speaking about today, for new control components, I wanted to basically reach out to you guys, ask the questions, what questions do you have, that we can then ask the crew at CERA. I'm going to refer to them as CERA from here on in because Circuit XL Racing Association is a mouthful. So obviously today's topic, which I'm sure all of you racers will know, is about tyres. So for as long as I've been racing, and probably most of you guys and girls have been racing, we've been using this, the Federal, the 595 RSR, and it's a really good tyre. I think all of you can agree for budget racing, you probably can't find much better. It's been fantastic. They wear really well. You know, I usually get 4 or 5 rounds out of a set of tyres easily, especially when they're buffed. They tend to wear really evenly. They have great grip when they come up to temperature, and they're just a good all-round tyre. Unfortunately, we are going to have to move on from the Federals due to not being able to get them anymore. So it's a bummer, I know, and a lot of people are pretty sad about it, but it's just the way of the world. So we will have to move on to a new tyre, which is where this tyre tender came in. So whenever a new control component comes into XL Racing, the 3E category, CERA, I should say, basically puts out a tender so all the companies can put in their offers. You know, we have this component, we have this component, and CERA can then go through the negatives and the positives of those components, look at costing and all that sort of thing. And then a new component is chosen, and that will then be the control component for the car. Just like the Super Shocks that we had to do a tender on. So for those of you who are kind of new to the XL racing, there used to be, I think, 4 or 5 shocks available of various different brands. They put out a tender because they wanted to basically make one shock absorber that all the cars are going to use. They went through a tender process and the Super Shocks won. So now all of our cars run the Super Shock in the Motorsport Australia category. There are a few other XL categories around Australia, but the main Circuit XL 3E Motorsport Australia category use the Super Shocks. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We are going to have a chat to Andrew Young over a Zoom meeting. He's in South Australia, I'm in Victoria. Otherwise, I would go and see him in person. Andrew Young is the secretary of CERA. He's a lovely guy, and he's going to basically run us through. I'm going to ask him the questions that you guys asked me, and hopefully we can give you guys some information, clear a few things up, and we can move forward with this new tyre. So before we jump into the chat with Andrew, we should probably tell you what the new tyre is. I imagine a lot of you watching this video would already know. It is the Dunlope Direzza ZIII, 3 I's, I guess that's a 3. Now, looking at the tyre on their website, it looks pretty good. It's a sport-focused tyre. Actually says on the Dunlop website that it's focused for track use and high-performance road use, which is pretty much exactly where the Federal sat as well in the range. And it looks to be a really good tyre. Now, I have chatted to a few people who have tested and tried these tyres out, either on XLs and various cars, and a few people. And the opinion is it's actually a very good tyre and very similar to the Federal. So this is good. I know other people will have different opinions, but the consensus is basically you can take your Federals off, you can chuck the Dunlop on, and you don't have to change any of your suspension settings or anything. You can just go out and race, and there's no problems. And that was proven last weekend, I believe. I spoke to someone. They literally did one race with one tyre, threw it off, put the other tyres on for the next race, didn't even feel the difference. It was the same. So that's good to hear. A lot of us, especially the lower end guys like myself who don't have time to go out and test suspension settings and things like that, it's nice to know we can just chuck the new tyre on, go racing with very little issue. So that is fantastic. Okay, so we are now going to have a chat to Andrew Young, who is the Secretary of CERA and the SA Delegate. He's a lovely guy, and we've got him on a Zoom call right now. G'day, Andrew. How are we going?
Yeah, really good. Thanks, Matty. Yourself?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. I'm in the garage, which I thought was a really good idea to have the car and the tyres and everything here until I realised it's about 5 degrees in Melbourne. So,
Oops. I won't mention it's nice and warm here.
oh,
All good.
stop it. Yeah, I'm a dork. Okay, so obviously the big rumour, well, the big talk on the town in the XL world is the tyres. So, unfortunately, we are saying goodbye to our trusty old Federal RSR.
Yep,
They are going, so it's a bit of a shame, but
it
obviously
is.
these things don't last forever and it's now out of our hands. So we'll probably get straight into this.
Yeah, go for
We,
it.
we might just skip ahead a couple of questions here, but
Yeah.
basically, what happened to Federal? Why can't we use them anymore?
Yeah, look, that's a really good point. Probably the main issue that we have got is the factory has actually moved from Taiwan to Vietnam. So there's obviously been that relocation. And unfortunately, they've decided not to carry on a lot of passenger tyre lines, which obviously our tyre falls into.
Yeah.
And particularly being that 15-inch size, yeah, obviously they're not going to carry that particular tyre over. And they unfortunately informed us, yeah, they won't be producing it anymore, which is a real pity because that's, having been around a long while, probably, look, you can probably tell that tyre's been with us from the start. So
Yeah.
it is sad to say goodbye. And if I may, I'd really like to recognise, obviously, the support of obviously Exclusive, Nita Tyres and SA Motorsport Tyres that have helped us along the way. If we've asked them for help at national events, and they've never ever said no. So look,
Yeah.
they've helped us build the category. So yeah, we really got
No, that's
to
great.
acknowledge them and say thank you for so many years of great support. It's just, yeah, I know the guys that have,
Yeah.
Nita and Exclusive are gutted. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a shame.
what,
And,
what can
and
we
as
do?
you said, I mean, it's a 15-inch sports car tyre. And
Yeah,
if you go to a showroom now, can you even see a car that's a sports
yeah,
car with a
that's it.
15-inch tyre? It doesn't exist. So, everything has at least a 17 or bigger. So it's just the way of the world, unfortunately. So
Yeah,
it's
yep,
really not a surprise that, 700 XL drivers in
yeah,
Australia probably
exactly.
aren't enough to keep a tyre going. So,
Oh, we like to think we're that important that they should, but you can understand the realities and the
yeah,
economics of it, Matty. So yeah, it's a pity,
100%.
but yeah, we move on. All good.
It is what it is.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
on that note,
Yep.
when does this changeover happen? I've already mentioned to everybody that what
Okay.
tyre we are moving to, but
Yeah, yeah.
how long can we run the Federals for?
Yeah, look, in competition under regulations, we can run them literally to the end of this year. So they'll expire, obviously, the first 2024, and that's when our Dunlop category kicks in. And look, I know we've had questions asked, can we do a carryover period? We'd love to say yes, but a contract's been signed for supply, so we need to abide by that contract.
Yep. There you go. So look, if you've got Federals on the shelf, go out, have some fun on them now, finish your
Yeah,
racing, and then go do some burnouts or go do some track days on them, okay?
I'll definitely on the street with the burnouts, of course. Off the street, yeah. And look,
Off the street.
keep in mind if it's not a circuit event next year, you could run them in sprints and things like that,
Yeah.
hill climbs and all that type of thing. So yeah, look, yeah, take advantage of it. If you've got them, use them, please. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'll probably still use mine for track days for practice days. Like when I
Oh,
go out and I
sure.
just want to run laps and just get some practice in, I'll throw the old tyres on, take them
Yeah,
down to the canvas and not wreck my new competition tyres. So there's still uses for them.
yeah. There'll be two of us doing that, I think, Matty.
Yeah.
Yep,
Awesome.
definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Cool, cool. All right. I've got my little question list here. So
Yeah,
I'll
go
hold
for
it
it.
up
Go
so I'm
for it.
not looking down weirdly.
And I've got a few notes as well to help us out, so I'm
Perfect.
not
No
dawdling,
problem.
hopefully.
All good. So we got that. Sweet. Okay. So I guess the next question is, so we are moving to the Dunlop. I don't know if
Yep.
I'm saying this probably, the Direzza.
The
Direzza?
Direzza, yeah, the
Is it
Direzza
Italian?
III,
I
yep.
don't know. I'm saying it the wrong way. The
I
Direzza
could be saying it
Z3.
wrong too. Yeah, yep.
So I think a lot of people were wondering what was that the actual process of selecting this tire? Like I know it's a big process, but can you run
Yeah,
us
yeah.
through the tender process of how this was selected? And I guess a few people are wondering it was a fairly quick process.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they're kind of wondering how that went and how it happened so fast.
Yeah, look, definitely. Obviously, the other thing that is keeping us extremely busy at the moment is our regulation review because we're meant to have that done by the end of August.
Mm,
It probably stretch out. So that was the other reason to get the tender done fairly quickly because
yeah,
obviously then we've got to go through a process with Motorsport Australia where they'll get the Australian Motor Racing Commission to sign off on our regs. And obviously that's like us, that's a group of people that they'll bring together and it's trying to get everyone together. So that's why it was probably done with a lot of, efficiency and some would say haste, but that's why we did it.
Sure.
So that was, literally why we pulled our finger out and got on with it. Because, Motorsport Australia asked every category to have their regulations in by the end of August.
Right.
Unfortunately, I can't show you the exact details. I'm going to put up a blank spreadsheet and to show you what we did, but I can't show you, obviously, Matty, I gave you a quick run through just to show you the process. So you got to see it. We took the names off it and what we did. So you can actually see the method behind our madness.
Sure.
But what we need to be aware of, that CERA is an associated incorporation, which means then obviously we have certain legal duties. We fall under the Trade Practices Act and the consumer laws and particularly when two of the tenderers have asked us not to expose any information, we need to respect that fact. We were very stringent about the way we dealt with their information. We got all delegates, to sign a confidentiality agreement. Even our independent person, we had two independent people sit in. The second one sat in on the actual meeting where we signed off on it. Everyone signed confidentiality agreements because obviously, and we've got to respect the fact that people in XL category that have businesses, they'll sign contracts. They don't make them open to the public, and we've got to do the same thing. And we've got to respect the fact that we've been asked not to pass it on. So, look, shall I put up that spreadsheet so we get to see it? Can you see that at your end now, Matty?
Yeah, we can see that. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, so what you can see here is obviously I've taken everything off it. And that's like even the names that we put up at this stage, we can't release the names because we're still on feedback and things like that.
Yep.
So literally what we did as a group is we sat down and then obviously discussed each one as we went across and then put an input in there and got weighted scores. So we did that against the tender criteria and then obviously put all that on the side of our spreadsheet and worked to that. And that was then able to add up totals for us as we went. So we looked at all these particular outcomes for the actual tender. And then, so we had all these particularly there then that we went through and then obviously then scored them. And obviously there was a bit of discussion. It was a pretty civil conversation. No one really disagreed, it's that type of thing. Then we went along and scored them and we got to the end and we had an added up total. And then obviously we had a preferred tenderer and then went off and started talks with them. What we also did along the process is just to help the decision-making process is extracted all the information that we had out of their tender document. So put it up. So as we went across, looked at the cost of the tyre, we already had that noted. So it just made it easier for all delegates to be able to see, obviously, what we're comparing them against and what each tenderer supplied to us in their documentation.
Okay.
So, as I said, we just can't make that open at this
that's fair
stage.
So obviously we've got these are the criteria. I think a question that was brought up was, were these tested on track? Where was this information coming from, and were they tested on track by CERA?
Yeah, look, good point. And obviously in the quick time turnaround that we had, we weren't able to do it. We literally had probably I'll say 2 to 3 shortlisted. And we undernarred about obviously looking at track testing for those particular ones because 3 we just had to write off. They were just way off and didn't meet certain critical criteria out the tender. So then obviously what we're able to do is where those tyres have been used in other categories is obviously get relevant information from them, talk to them and things like that. The issue is, with a 1-day tyre test is, can you test longevity? Well, no, you can't. And the other issue is with a 1-day tyre test is just the pure cost of it. Obviously, because CERA relies on the states to supply us money and, you're talking thousands of dollars to be able to test just one tyre where we would have, had to at least 2 to 3 tyres to test. So we just had to literally base it on information, talk to other categories and so forth, and obviously known motorsport connections and things like that.
Yeah, fair enough. And I guess with that tender, there was sort of vaguely about 8 or 9 tyres were put in for the tender. There's some that would straight away, if the tyre's just too expensive for our category, it's straight off. Like there's no point even thinking about it.
Oh, correct.
And if one tyre is just a way too soft compound,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
no point because
yeah,
we need something like this where it's going to wear, we're going to get three,
yeah,
4 rounds
exactly.
out of it. So,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
guess you can narrow down the field very quickly just on those components alone.
Yeah, you can, and obviously, you can read a contract or read the tenders and get a gut feel, but we still wanted to do justice to all of them who took their
Sure.
time to do it and
Yep.
score them. And you get to
Yep.
that point, you go, well, yeah, you're right. We can't really test that. So yeah, good
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No, okay, fair enough. So basically, we didn't do any. There wasn't any track testing done, but
No.
it all did boil down to this was pretty much the tire to go with, and it was a choice that every delegate went, this is the way to go, and that's kind
Pretty
of how it went.
much,
Yeah,
and obviously you've had the advantage of seeing the scores. You saw it was way ahead
it
of
was.
some
Yeah,
of the others.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So
yeah,
in the end, yeah, it scored well. Don't get me wrong, but yeah,
yep.
because of that background information we had in comparison to the other tires, yep. We just thought, well, there's probably not worth wasting the members' money on
Yeah.
track tests. We can make a value judgment on the information we've got in front of us. Yeah.
No, that's fair enough. Okay, cool.
No, of
That's good.
course.
So yeah, look, as Andrew said, I'm sure it's not like supercars where they've got cars and track time and they hire Winton out for a week and they go and
Yeah,
smash a
exactly.
bunch of different tires and figure it out. It's grassroots. It is what it is. And just like most of us don't get to go and test everything all the time,
No, that's
neither
right.
can the committee. So
Oh,
it is
look,
what it
yeah,
is.
in
Cool.
a perfect world, you'd love to, but keep in mind, any of the monies that CERA runs on comes from the states,
Yeah.
and which is members' money, so we are
Yeah.
extremely cautious with it. Yeah.
That's cool. Hey, just for future reference, if there's another tender going out for a control component, bring them all to me and just pay for me to go to Phillip Island for a week. I'll gladly test all the components for you, okay?
I have heard similar offers to that in the past. Yeah, yeah, bring them on. Yeah,
Happy
fair enough. Good point.
to. All good. All right, cool. So let's have a look what else we had. These are questions from you guys when I
Yeah,
put it up
yep,
on the Facebook page. So we got there. That's good. Cool. So, in the past, there has been some issues with control components having availability issues.
yes,
Now, with this, obviously, we are going to a big company, being Dunlop.
yeah.
But have they made any guarantees for us that we will have enough tyres to not only fit out everybody that's racing, but all the future races coming in and everything? Is there enough stock?
Yeah, look, valid point. And I even contacted them yesterday just to see, for the interim period, how we're going. And I know
Yep.
each state's have got good numbers there. They've actually got a pool of tyres sitting in Sydney. And I think they can actually deliver tyres extremely quickly, where probably what we didn't, one of the tenderers was actually about a 5-month reach from order.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, so we would have to get bulk orders up front. So yeah, we're really confident. They've already demonstrated that. I think it was from the time that we decided to go with them for that interim period. I think it was a 60-day delivery that they were able to bring into us.
Okay.
And obviously the advantage, as you mentioned, Maddie, being Dunlop,
Yep.
we're dealing directly with obviously, Dunlop Motorsport. So
Yep.
yeah, we've got that direct connection to them as well.
Yeah. Great.
So yeah,
Okay.
we are extremely confident, and they've already demonstrated that to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great. That's
And
good.
obviously the good thing is as well, they're supplying other categories as well.
Yep.
So there is regular shipments coming in, to
Yeah.
cover all those other categories that they support as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're not just sending a container for us; they're sending a container with
Yeah,
those
yeah,
tyres
yeah.
for that category, and they just chuck another 200 in for us, and
Yeah, yeah,
off we
yeah,
go.
yeah.
So
That's what they mentioned yesterday. Oh, by the way, you've got more tyres coming in the 86 container. So it's like, yeah,
fair
cool,
enough.
excellent. And that's including, they've already got that reserve stock in Sydney for us. So yeah,
Sweet.
and there's stock right across the country. The other advantage we've got with obviously Dunlop is that nationwide distribution factor.
Mm.
Yeah, I know Northern Territory and obviously Tassie have been at a disadvantage. They're already paying that $150 because of transport. They're going, well, that's what we've been paying for a long time, and that's the advantage with this particular company as well. So yeah, really good.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah,
Excellent.
it's going to help us all out, definitely.
Now, this wasn't actually on the question list. This is probably something from me. Something we have talked about in the past is this tyre is a little more expensive than the Federal was.
Yes, correct.
However, it's sounding like if Federal was to keep going, the rumor was the price was going to go up anyway.
Oh, look, yeah, we were coming to the end of the contract period. So, the general chat was like everything, and we'll probably go through a similar thing with the suspension. There was probably going to be a price increase. And literally, the vibe we were getting is that would end up at a similar price point anyway, because unfortunately we've seen since, someone did silly things overseas, everything's gone up and we're all paying for it, unfortunately. So,
And that's the whole world anyway. It's not just motorsport.
it is.
So.
It is.
Yeah, cool. Okay, cool. Sweet. So, this question was posed to me, and it's probably not a redundant question, but being the brand, what quality control assurance do we have for this tyre? I mean, it's a pretty good brand. I've run them on street cars before, and I've never had an issue. But obviously, motorsport's a whole different ballgame. What assurance do we have that they're not going to delaminate or do something silly?
Yeah, good point. I think you mentioned there's a good point that they are actually obviously in street cars as well. So in that particular case, what we've got to look at, they're an OEM supplier as well. And so in this particular case, they're going to comply to ISO 9000, 9001. Obviously, being a Japanese manufacturer, they employ such things, as the Kaizen system and things like that, the continuous improvements, the Six Sigma systems, with all this, what they call lean manufacturing and things like that, we're trying to reduce costs and obviously then that continuous improvement factor. Obviously, we've also seen other categories that have used this particular tyre. We know, obviously, it's similar tyre in 86s. They're having no major dramas with it. And we know it's been used in the Track Attack in the past, and they had no issues with that as well. So, look, because of all those factors, we're pretty confident with it, to be honest.
Yeah, cool. And you mentioned the Track Attack. I actually did speak to a couple of guys who have raced in Track Attack on that tyre, and they did say not a problem at all. Once again, they can switch out between the Federals, between the Dunlops. It's much a muchness. They're not really seeing any real difference. So, they don't have to change the suspension setup. They don't have to change the car. They just switch the tyre, go racing. It's all good. So that's great for someone like me. I hate doing the tyre and alignment and everything on this car. It's my pet hate. So if I had to go and stuff with the suspension to make that new tyre work, I'd be a bit bummed. But if I could just chuck it on and go, that's great.
Yeah, I know where you come from, because I'm pretty much a single man operation as well. So yeah.
It sucks.
Look, and that's pretty much, Matty, that's the feedback we've got. Obviously, a couple of guys ran in our last round here and said, look, it is pretty similar. There's, minimal differences and advantages, disadvantages, but overall, they were really happy, the guys that ran it. So we're fairly confident it's going to be a comparable product.
Perfect. Awesome.
Excellent.
Sounds good. Okay. What else have we got from the question list here? Oh, here's one. So when did we find out about Federal basically closing up operations? When did CERA find out about this happening? And could we have jumped on this sooner? Is this something that could have been done sooner?
Yeah, look, good point. We probably heard around about it mid-February, the rumours, the hearsay.
Yep.
Then we officially heard from two tyre importers probably around the start of March that, there seems to be an issue. And then we actually had it confirmed that that particular factory in Taiwan had shut down and they had moved operations. So that was about, I would say, first or second week of March. I've got a date on the 15th of March. We had an emergency meeting with all presidents and delegates saying we have a problem. And then obviously from there, the decision was made to obviously start looking at an interim tyre. And obviously we spoke to several different suppliers. It's not fair to mention who else we spoke to because they weren't able to help us due to certain situations that they had. So it's no good, I think mentioning names. That's not fair to them. They tried their best, but obviously we knew we were running out of tyres. And Dunlop were able to get the tyres here, literally, out of all of them that we spoke to, literally the quickest. So we jumped on that straight away. So we got that supply, and I think we had that supply by, what was it, end of May, start of June type date. So, and I think it got to that point where we're able to run out all the old stocks of Federal, and then the Dunlops come online. So everyone was able to keep racing, and that was our main goal. We want to keep people racing, So
of course. So basically, Dunlop answered the call. When you put the call out, Dunlop was the first one to say, yes, we can do it, and they did it the quickest. Was that kind of the deal?
Not necessarily the first ones. They were the ones that are able to literally commit with Some of them came back to us like wanted big supply numbers, like minimum of 1,000 and things like that. And we're going, ooh, and they're going, well, it could be 3 to 4 months. And we're going, ooh, that's not going to do it. And Dunlop were able to say, look, we can have first 300 here by, literally that end of May, June. They delivered 400. Then they, I think a month or so later, had their next batch in. And from what I've heard, no one's had problems getting Dunlops.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah. I think that pretty much answers that question. So
I hope so. I can tell you there was a few sleepless nights around the mid-March, and I thought, what the hell are we going to do here? But yeah, all worked out well in the end.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, when I first heard the rumor, I was like, holy cow! Like, that's the one thing I probably didn't expect to be an issue for us.
Yeah, exactly.
And a bit of a shame too, because I think we're all a little bit attached to that tire. You know, it's you know what it's going to do. It's a very predictable tire to drive on, and we all shed a little bit of a tear that it was going to go, but here we are.
Yeah,
so
that's it exactly.
All right. Okay, so this question's probably one that's popped up the most, I'd say, as a bit of a controversial question.
All right.
And this is the fact that people who have driven this tyre, not all people, but some people have found that this tyre is the quickest straight out the packet, so when it's brand new. We have seen this in other categories before, like the RX-8s have found their tyres are the quickest brand new, and they do taper off the older they get. So I think a few people are a bit worried about big budget teams or people with a bit of excess cash coming in, running a new set of tyres, getting that. It depends who you speak to as to what the gain is. Some people are saying it's half a second a lap, others are saying it's negligible. But there's these people chasing tenths, and if they think that a green tyre is faster, what is to stop them basically coming in with a new set of tyres every race and blowing the budget teams out the water? Is there anything? Is this something you've heard of, and is there anything sort of in place or being thought about to stem this?
Well, what we want to do is obviously have a look and see if that actually is the case initially. So it's a bit early to judge.
Sure.
I guess if you look at any race tyre, you look at Formula One or anything like that, they're probably best, and then they have their drop off. So look, let's wait and see. The issue that we're going to have is obviously marking tyres. We are talking about possible barcoding and things like that. Yeah, and they haven't said no, so that's all good. The problem that we see, and this is obviously where our level of category sits, is then trying to get states to be able then to give them the resources, and it's not so much being able to give them, it's about the states supplying the resources, because I know a lot of states struggle to get eligibility people, so it means we're going to have to get at state level an extra eligibility person and people for that. And so even at nationals, we're able to cater for that. You probably saw at Bathurst, we had extra people on board, but obviously that takes a lot of organisation. So look, that's probably a conversation we'll continue to have with the states, but that's what the states will need to do. And obviously we're all states at the end of the day. I mean, I'm South Australia, I race there. It'll be those guys. Can they supply that resource to be able to check that off and literally say, you're allowed this amount of tyres. Who's going to control that? Who's going to check that? So So it'll be a continued conversation that we're going to have along the journey. So it's a good question without probably being able to give a definite answer. And if you have a look, all our eligibility people are volunteers. So it's trying to find those volunteers that we're able to use as a category to make sure if we input something like that, to enforce it. So that's always the difficulty that we'll have.
There you go. Yeah, so basically, without going into detail, it would be that we would have to, they'd be barcoded, they'd be checked at the start of the race, start of the day, and then probably after every race or maybe second race or something, they would have to go around that official, check it's the same tyres on that car, and they'd have to do that for at least the front runners, maybe the whole pack. I don't know, it'd be similar to kind of weighing cars, you pick maybe the top 10 or whatever. But it is a body on the ground having to do that. So
correct. So
if this does become a problem for everybody watching and you are whinging about this, maybe yourself or a family member could donate your time to help out doing this.
Yeah,
and that may solve some problems. So.
And that's the biggest issue you have is trying to get people to help out. Obviously, you saw at Bathurst, there's quite a few of us on the ground, but go back to state rounds, a lot of those guys would be doing state eligibility and stuff like that, or like myself, not doing category management, I'd be out driving. So
No, it's hard. I know in
Yeah,
Victoria we
that's
just
it.
struggle to get
Yes.
people to help out, and as I said, I would love to help out, but I struggle for time as it is. But there's often only two people, if that, running the whole
Yeah,
show
that's it,
for
isn't it?
Excels.
Yep.
So it's to have an extra person to run around and check barcodes on tyres. There's a lot, but as you said, it's a conversation. We will see if they're
Oh, yeah.
faster. Speaking to a couple of people who are experienced racers about this tyre and they have driven them, they said it is marginally quicker,
Okay.
but almost nothing to worry about.
Yeah. Look, that,
You know,
look,
like if you, I don't know, like it's really quite negligible at our level. You know, if you're talking about Formula One, maybe it's a difference, but for our level, it's really, it's not that much. And also they're saying that, they've gone through several races. The tyre hasn't dropped off anywhere near as much as people have claimed. But this
yes.
is, I guess, something we'll find out as time goes on.
Oh, look, and then I've seen it firsthand. A set of tyres that were used in a non-stop practice day with two drivers.
Yep.
That same then was used in a practice day before a round, and then they were used right through that round. You're looking and you're going, there's at least one more race meeting of that, if not more. So very sim from what we've seen thus far. Obviously,
Yep.
time will tell, but longevity, it's looking very similar to the Federal. Looking
Okay.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
good.
what we want, equivalent replacement, really, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we just don't, we don't want a soft slick. I mean, yeah, it'd be great fun
Yeah,
for the first race, but then when people realise you get to fork out for a new set of soft tyres every round, it's hard
exactly.
work. We
Yeah,
just
it's
we just want to go racing. So,
for
no, it
sure.
sounds good. Look, I think we've answered just about all the questions.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it sounds pretty exciting. It sounds like we're with a good company too. Like Dunlop, a pretty big name in motorsport, and they're the tyre supplier for some pretty big series as well. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, that's
exciting
it.
to even just be associated with that. So
Yeah,
it's great,
exactly.
and maybe that will give us some things to look forward to in the future. Who knows? Who knows what doors it will open?
Oh, look, we've obviously, you probably saw the Motorsport Australia article the other day talking about the Dunlop Destiny program. We can't talk about that yet because that's still
Sure.
being developed. And look,
Yep.
this is one of the great things we've had with obviously the Dunlop and obviously Wilden 1-3 is the fact that we're finding them awesome. They're basically we consider a partnership straight away, and that's a really good relationship to have.
Yep.
They put up a concept for this Destiny program. We went back and we said to them, "Look, it might be better if we do this and this and this," and they took that board and said, "Yeah, great, absolutely. You guys know your category. Let's go that way." And so they're gone back to who they're working with for this particular program. Say, no, we might change direction a bit. Let's go
Sure.
this. So they're negotiating that. So we're as soon as they finish that off and we're able to release some information, we'll get that out. But that's very exciting as well.
Okay.
What's been great to work with them as well is obviously say, look, we would like this particular area to put our sticker, and we're going, oh, that's the states. That's where the states sponsors go. No dramas. We said to them, well, how about we put your sticker here as a compromise? Yeah, no worries, all good. We'd also like to see a sticker here. Yeah, good. So states and that don't use, and that's a normal spot that people don't use. So they've been really cooperative and really good to work compromises out with. So yeah, it's been a really good discussion. So yeah, really happy with it. And obviously, I
Exciting.
know it's some of our NT guys. Look, we're just to put the word out. We're working with your delegate. Obviously, we're looking at a strategy to bring you on board to make sure you're aligned to obviously a CERA affiliated club. Because one thing they have made clear to us, this tyre at that price is only available to obviously CERA, Motorsport Australia affiliated XL clubs.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Fair enough. Okay.
So yeah.
That's
So
cool.
NT, we're working with you.
Jump on board into.
That's
Cool.
it. No, they're really growing, and I know we've got some good migration heading up there for races from SA. So look, the rest of Australia, keep an eye on what they're up to, and
Yeah, it looks good. I've been following a couple of
oh
races we went
yeah,
up there, and that was really cool. That was a good adventure. That so I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. Hopefully, maybe I'll tow this thing up there one day. But geez, it's a hell of a drive.
it's a long drive. Yeah, look,
Yeah,
our plans are. I know a lot of SA guys want to do the NT titles up there next year, so. Yeah, one of our guys drives a truck. I reckon that's going to be full of SA cars heading up there in
perfect.
midwinter because probably like you guys, we would enjoy that sun in middle winter.
Yes, very
Yep.
much. Yeah, I love Victoria and I love the island, but I'm sick of driving in the wet.
Yeah.
Cool, awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much, Andrew. I think that's all the questions we've kind of got now. Obviously, this video will go up and there will be a comments section. Just bear in mind that probably Andrew won't be looking at those comments. If you've got any more questions that haven't been answered in this, maybe have a chat to your local club members
Yeah.
club secretary or club president. Yeah, look, it looks like we're moving forward in a good way. We've got a good tyre. We're going to keep on racing. Yes,
Yep.
there is a little bit of a price increase, but honestly, it was going to happen with these anyway if they stayed
Was going
around.
to.
And let's face it, guys, $150 for a tyre for motorsport is not a lot of money. Because if you go and have a look at other categories, they are paying a lot more. So just keep
Look,
that in
Matty,
mind.
just want to reach out and say thanks. I know you approached us at Bathurst, and I said, yeah, look, let's make this happen. What I love what you do to promote the category. If you got a fact wrong, I'll just give you a call and you do a correction. I love that. So look, love your honesty and just literally keep it up. You're doing wonderful things for the category, like we all do as volunteers and that for the category. You know, we got a great category. Let's just keep it going. I just encourage members to engage with your CERA delegate, and if you got questions, get onto them. Obviously, don't be afraid to look at the CERA website. We put the minutes up. That document that I showed, along with the confidentiality agreement, will be with the minutes once it's all been approved. Okay, because we've got our regulation review meeting coming up in a couple of weeks' time. So yeah, once all the regs are approved, they're always up on the CERA website.
Yeah.
So all minutes and meetings are put up there. Okay.
No, it's awesome. Thanks so much. And no, thank you. I'm trying to help out the best I can. It's terrible. You've got two kids under 4 and you work for yourself. It's it's hard. I'd love to volunteer for HERA, but I just don't have time. So anyway, this is my way of helping. But awesome.
No, and we appreciate that. Awesome.
Wicked. All right. Thanks for your time, Andrew. And thanks everyone once again. We're moving forward with this tyre. If you've got any questions, hit up your local club, or you can look at the CERA website. It's got all the information on there. And we will see you out on track. Thanks for watching, guys.